right now. That didn't work. Hello and welcome to my channel, Haylee Marie Vintage. Today I have a very exciting project to share with you guys. I am going to be sewing a 1968 mini dress. It's super cute, kind of very like boho disco-y feeling. I'm really excited to make this, and I'm even more excited because we're gonna take our first step into my fabric stash from the factory in South Carolina. So we're gonna be using this very groovy print for this dress. I think they'll work perfectly together and I'm really excited. And I have 6.5 yards of this, so with this dress I'll have probably enough to even like make another dress out of this, which I'm pretty excited about. So that is what we're doing today, and let's go and dive into me cutting the fabric. So I guess I forgot to mention that I am doing this in my parents' basement, and this is footage actually from December. I am not traveling back and forth all these times. I just had stocked away some projects for when I needed a bit of a break on YouTube. So this here is my parents' lovely basement. So here I am cutting out this dress. I am using French seams, so I'm cutting with extra margin on the dress pieces, and then everything else I plan on figuring out how to finish later. That is what we are doing right now. I am just pinning everything down and then I am cutting it out. And since this is a semi-directional print, I have to make sure everything is sitting on it exactly the way I want. I guess somehow this day I had enough energy to both cut out a pattern and sew some. So I have done up the side seams, and I am also working on the facings in this part. So I am doing French seams. So you're seeing the first round of pressing right here. And I am using a pressing cloth anytime I get up around the inner facing. My mom did buy a new iron, and so I'm trying to preserve its cleanliness. We're getting it together. I already filmed this part, but I didn't click the record button because that's what great YouTubers do. But we are now jumping into day 2 of this project. Yesterday, or I mean 2 days ago, I cut out the pattern, I made the facing, and I got that all prepped and ready. And I also sewed together the front and the back of the halves of the front and the back of the dress. I now today need to sew the whole dress together and basically do pretty much everything else that I need to do for this dress. And I'm now running a little bit behind on this project. I wanted it ready for an event I was going to tomorrow. We'll see if I can still get it done in time, fingers crossed. But let's go ahead and jump into me working on the project. And then here, before I've even done up the side seams, I am putting in the zipper. I actually think this is one of the most interesting parts about making patterns throughout the decades, is they sometimes just have different ways they suggest you construct a pattern. So in this case, they're having me put in the zipper already, as opposed to waiting toward the end of the garment. This is really practical because it's nice and flat. And of course, this only works because there is a fully separate front and back panel. However, I am going to pick this up and use this because I put most of my zippers down the back, even on my 1940s and 50s patterns. So if there are two panels like this that you're attaching the front and the back together, I'm going to go ahead and stitch this zipper in flat because it was just so much easier than like maneuvering all of those big amounts of fabric. Another kind of difference is a lot of times I feel like they have you sew everything together, like the sides, and then do the facing, but here they have you do the facing after you've attached the shoulder seams. And again, I think this is purposely just because it's a flat and easier to work with, and therefore press and sew. I also think I like this order of the process too, and might switch it up when I have like the chance and opportunity to. Here I am just fiddling with the fabric and the facing, trying to get it to lay right. I did a lot of work on the deep V on this guy just because I'm not the best V maker, so I kind of worked a lot on that, and then I was just making sure everything made sense in the way it was laying. Here we are getting ready to do up the pockets. They again do the order of operations here kind of interesting. A lot of times you'll sew the pockets on and then sew the side seams together, and sew along the edge of the pockets as part of the side seam. In this case, they have you sew the side seam, leave a gap for the pocket, and then you sew on the pocket later, but it's still kind of the same type of construction almost. Here I am just kind of puzzling, trying to figure out what they're telling me to do. I felt like I didn't get weird bits of the pocket sticking out, so I do think I will use this again. This also lends itself well to when I forget to put in pockets, so I did like this method and I think I will use it again. And then here I am just sewing around the pockets like it tells me to, before then pressing them into the dress. I think this order of operations worked really well, and these pressed really easily into the dress.
All right, so I have been procrastinating something, and that something is turning the belt part, I guess, or the trim part inside out. I knew this was going to be a nightmare. These, like the turn tools, don't work because you have ends on both, like it's not a tube, and this was just really not fun. This took a really long time and it was incredibly frustrating, and I just always really hate turning these out. And maybe there's a trick for them that I just don't understand or realize. When you're turning things from the center, I just feel like it's no fun. And this is specifically supposed to be narrow enough that the extra seam allowance actually makes it all round, which is why I haven't trimmed that, because obviously that would make my life easier. But in this case, they want you to have that extra seam allowance, like fill it and make it round. After I finally finished getting this out, my hands just really hurt. But after I get that done, I am then hand sewing this up to the front, and I will check in with you tomorrow morning. We are on day 3 of this project. I'm getting very, very close. So here's the dress. You can see I hand sewed the trim. I put down the facings and I did the hem all off camera last night as I was watching some TV with my family. And so now we are at 9 a.m. I need to have this done by 12, and all I have left is the sleeves and then to add in the carriers for the belts in the sides. The carriers I can go without technically, so that's going to be my very last step. So I'm going to head downstairs to hopefully get the sleeves on this thing. Fingers crossed we can do it. Oh, that was a peace sign, not a fingers crossed. I'm feeling pretty optimistic since it's almost wearable as is and it just needs the sleeves. So I'm going to go do that now. Here I am zigzagging down on the edges of the sleeves. I realized I did not cut enough to allow for a French seam, which is my bad. And so I am now just stitching that up with a zigzag kind of overlock stitch, because I really don't want a lot of fraying in the arms. It will drive me nuts, especially when you like put your arms through things and you just keep getting caught. It sounds like no fun. So I think these are my favorite sleeves I've ever hemmed. I really like how they had you do this. You cut a facing out for the sleeve and you put it on like you would a dress facing. So sewing it together and then understitching it and then just flipping it in. I believe they do this because it is a bit rounder and they don't want you to have to figure out how to ease in the extra edge. But I really enjoyed doing this way, and I think I'll do edge facing sometimes when I am working with rounded sleeves in the future. Now that all of that is done, I am now putting in the threads for gathering into the sleeve, and then after this I will be sewing down that side seam and getting it ready to attach the dress. Here I am gathering or easing the sleeve into the actual dress. I have recently learned there's a difference between a gathered sleeve and an ease sleeved, and I will hopefully be learning how to properly ease a sleeve, but for now these are gathered up at the top because I don't know how to do anything else. I am working against the clock here and trying to finish up sewing this, so I am just doing the sleeves, setting them in here, and trying to be as careful as I can to not have to redo anything and waste precious time. And then here I am doing the hand sewing, which includes learning how to do a chain stitch to put in the belt holders. This was really interesting and a very fun process to do and pretty quick, and I was pretty pleased to have time to do this before the event started. So I did make my deadline, I wore this, and I was very excited about it. And let's now go ahead and hop into the reveal.
We have wrapped up this project. You've seen the reveal. I was just about to swear, I'm so in love with this dress. I felt this way about this dress too, which I made recently. I'll link that in the eye, wherever it goes. But I feel like I've really hit my groove when it comes to sewing. Like I feel like projects just are less stressful, more easy, and I can fit them and have better finishings than I used to. So with this guy here, I just think it's absolutely stunning. And then I used like 6 different seam finishes for this. I have some French seaming. I have some, well, I started to pink it and then that wasn't working. So then I zigzag stitched it. So I like over stitched it or whatever. I did that in the arm as well, where I did that zigzag stitching to kind of stop the fraying, because this fabric is pretty prone to fraying. In here, I don't know if you can tell, but this is a bias tape finishing around the armhole. So that way it won't like fray or be annoying or anything. So I just feel like my finishing is getting to like a really nice level, and I feel like I have options. This dress, was my own poor planning that made it so I used like 6,000 different seam finishes. I feel like the one we're missing is the Hong Kong or the felled seam. I should have really tried to get them all in on this dress. I really like this dress, and one of the biggest things I like about it is because of the fact it ties in the front and it has a lot of space. This will fit me forever, pretty much, as long as my shoulders don't get broader. This will always fit me. I will say that actually the one mistake in the fit is I think somehow I didn't account for the armholes being larger in the armhole. Like the armholes are a little bit tight. They're fine, not enough to like be bothersome or restrict movement, but I would definitely lower them in the future. I need to keep remembering to like make the armholes just a tad bit bigger. I find these patterns are too restrictive, like even in this one, it's pretty restrictive. So I just need to be better about remembering to do that. And so I'm pretty excited to like have made something in my wardrobe that is so comfy and fun. And I just feel like it like feels funny to say I feel really sexy in this dress, because it like isn't a very sexy dress, but it does make me feel sexy. It makes me feel flirty. It makes me feel girly. Like I absolutely love how this dress makes me feel. And the pattern is just like so me. I love like these types of loud prints, and I really feel like I selected the right pattern for this print and for this fabric. This fabric was a bit tough to figure out what to make with it, because it is such a like kind of weird polyester thing, but I absolutely adore it, and I am really, really happy with how it turned out. I'm trying to think if there's anything I wish I did better. I don't know. I don't really know what else to say other than I just like am so happy about this dress. I think so far what I've been loving about like the 60s and 70s patterns that I've been looking at is a lot of them are flex to your size, and I think that's really great. And as much as I adore like these like fit dresses that are more like 50s or 40s, I think they're adorable, but like they don't always fit me as my weight fluctuates. And so I think it's really great to have some options in my wardrobe that will always fit me that I made. That is it for this video. You can always buy me a coffee over on Ko-Fi. I will link that down below. And of course, if you can't support me financially, I completely understand. You can also support me by liking, subscribing, and commenting down below. I would super appreciate that, and I would love to have you around. And that wraps this up. I hope you enjoyed this project as much as I did, and I will see you next time. Bye!